from the Sunshine and Music blog, and today we are going to be talking about planning a lesson for your first day of kindergarten. Now, kindergarten is kind of its own animal. For many of these students, this is their first time in formal schooling, and they don't really know how to act, and they don't have a strong attention span, so we have to address all of that while still getting in all that important information that they need to know. I'm going to talk about everything from how you meet them at the door to how you teach rules in a way that's fun and engaging, and how we practice lining up at the end, every last step. So let's get started. Let's start at the very beginning with students coming into your classroom and what you should do. So you probably have your own idea of what type of starting routine you're going to have in your classroom, and maybe you have different ones for different grade levels. You probably don't greet your fifth graders the same way you greet your kindergartners, or maybe you do, but just know what you want your students to do as they start each music class and have a plan to make sure to teach that. So the very first day of kindergarten, when students come into my room, I'm going to be greeting them at the door, helping them walk in a line, something that they might not have success at right away, and leading them to a specific spot where we will find our assigned music spots. I do assign music spots the first day. I know a lot of people don't, and I totally get it. You might have that one kid who, like, you call them by their name, they go by a different name at home, and so you're like, who are you? If they don't have their name tag on, it can be a little confusing. But I just like to get things established right away as to where they're going to be sitting and start practicing that right on the first day, and it helps me to start learning names. So that's my preference, but you could totally not do that if you don't want to. So I'll be leading them in a line, have them stop along the back, and then I'll sit them in their spots real quick. And that's how I start music class. Once we're seated, then I teach them the real beginning of class procedure that we will normally do, which is our hello song. And so we just start with something easy like, oh, can you raise your hand when you hear the word hello? Or wave every time you hear hello. And then maybe I might have them join in learning some motions to go with the song. And over the coming weeks, we'll start to learn how to sing the song for real. But I just try and give them super easy, super fun, and super achievable steps for that first day. But I make sure that they are introduced to our hello song, because that's going to be a main part of their routine every time they come into music class. Another thing that is critical to teach students in kindergarten and in all grade levels is rules. Now, there's one rule that I do just slap right up there very quickly, and that is raising your hand to talk. I think you will understand if you've ever had a kindergarten class before, and if not, you'll understand as soon as you have a kindergarten class. Those kids like to blurt out all of them at the same time. And so I make sure to slap that rule up there right away so that they know the expectation for raised hands. And you will need to reinforce this about 5 million times, but it's there and it's the expectation. Now, for all those other rules or routines that you might have in your room, yes, you do need to address them, but no, you definitely should not lecture your kindergartners or really any grade level to a large extent, but definitely not your kindergartners. And that is why I make my rules into a game. So here's my first example. Remember, I had them get into their seating chart right away when they came into class. And then what we do after we've done our hello song is I have them stand up, I play a tambourine, and they move around the room. And when they hear the tambourine stop, they stop. And then they have to turn and point at their spot and find their way back and do it correctly without, jumping over the person next to you and stuff like that. Sometimes they get it on the first try. Sometimes they have to practice a couple times. But again, it's a game. So we treat it as such, and it's a great way for them to start to learn how to move around the room, especially going back to their spots, and help them know their spots. Another thing that we talk about is how we sit. Now again, every class is going to be different. Generally, for my kindergartners, to keep it simple, I just tell them crisscross applesauce. The main thing that I want from my students is that their hands and feet and body are in their own space, and that they're sitting, on their bottoms so that the people behind them can see. But that's a lot of directions for a kindergartner to, that's a lot of checked boxes for them. So that's more how I explain it to my 5th graders. For my kindergartners, it's just crisscross. And we do a silly song to practice this. If you've ever heard the song, open, shut them, open, shut them. It's about your hands, and it gives you directions about what to do with them. And at the end, during the end of the first phrase at least, we put them in our lap. So we do that song, we're silly about it, and then we talk about what do our hands and feet do in music class. We keep our hands in our lap, crisscross our legs, and make sure to find a good example or 10 of students that are crisscrossing or putting their hands in their lap or having their eyes on you when you talk, and point those kids out. Find the positive examples. All right, I'm about to talk about one of my favorite bands for music for young kids. The Laurie Berkner Band is one of my favorites. And one thing that I do with my kindergarten group on the first day is a song called I Know a Chicken. And it's all about egg shakers. And she knows a chicken who laid an egg, and it's a shaky egg. And then you do different things with your shaky egg, like shake it fast or slow or in a circle. And it's a really fun, silly song. It gets students using instruments on the first day, because that's what your kindergartners are obsessed with when they come into your room, is being able to play all the instruments. So being able to have that, and also having it as a behavior incentive, right? If you have that one kid who's not on task and like, oh, well, if you want your egg, you gotta be, keeping your hands in your own space and whatever other things you need to remind them of, it's a really good incentive for that behavior piece as well. So I definitely recommend using some kind of instrument activities. I use them for like the first month of school with my kindergartners, a different instrument every day, because the kids just eat it up, and it's going to help you get that buy-in from them that you're going to need for all that good behavior for the rest of the year. Now, the next thing that I love to do is a book, and it's a Pete the Cat book. Many of you may already be familiar with it. Pete the Cat, Rockin' in My School Shoes. So one thing you may or may not know about this book is that if you go to the Pete the Cat official website, they actually have an audio version of this book free that you can download, and you can just turn the pages, which can be critical sometimes because you're talking so much that first week of school, talking through procedures and all of the steps. Sometimes you just need to rest your voice. So you can just turn pages. It's got awesome music to go along with the rocking in your school shoes. And it's really great because it talks about the different parts of the school and how you act differently in each one. Something that kids might just be starting to grasp in kindergarten. So acknowledging that we are going to act different in music class than we do in the hallway or the cafeteria or the library is very helpful in my opinion. So I highly recommend that book for the first day of school. And those are the things that I do in my class. We also practice lining up by color. I have my students sitting on different colors. So we practice what that looks like and how to stand on our dots in line, because I have dots for the line too. But making sure that we practice any procedures that they need to do, and do it as much as you can in a gamified way. Probably by now you've noticed a pattern, right? I try and make everything into as much of a fun game as possible. They are kindergartners. This is their language. And yes, we need to start to bring them into the fold of how we act in music and the rules and expectations, but do it in a way that is fun and joyful. I hope you enjoyed this video all about how I do my kindergarten lessons. You can take it verbatim or you can insert your own activities, but I hope that this helps you deal with that special beast that is kindergarten on the very first day of music class. Take care. And don't forget to visit my blog for lots more ideas on things to do in your music class.